what is left for them this season? Trae Young is going to miss a month, and let's just say he comes back end of March, early April, and this team is somewhere in the play-in, nebulous, and maybe some encouraging signs at times with the offense, but they're 10th right now. They're well back of the 8th place Orlando Magic. They're even further back, obviously, of the 6th-seeded Pacers. This team, at best, is going to be 9-10, and they're 2 games back of the 9th-seeded Bulls right now. This kind of, to me, almost feels like the end of Atlanta's season in kind of a dramatic way, but maybe I'm overanalyzing this.
No, I think it's the end of Trae Young's season for all intents and purposes, right? You miss 4 weeks, you come back for a couple of weeks and a half. It's just like, all right, cool. That's like kind of fun, whatever. No reason to rush him back, right? Either. But I don't know if you're Atlanta, maybe there is going to be a reason to rush him back because they're only 3.5 games up on Brooklyn and 4 games up on Toronto with 25-ish games left here. If they kind of slide down the standings here, this basically creates an opening where I thought we basically knew the top 10 teams in the East. This Trae Young injury creates an opening for maybe Brooklyn or Toronto with a strong stretch of play to sneak in. Now, that's a lot on Brooklyn and Toronto to do because they haven't really had a prolonged stretch of good basketball this season. But hey, one 4 or 5 game win streak. We just saw Charlotte do that recently, right? Like one of those streaks could put them back into the mix here for the 10 seed. And if you're Atlanta and Trae Young comes back with a couple of weeks left in the season, then that gives you maybe some reason to make a push. The other thing I would be trying to do if I were the Hawks, because you're right, basically, what if we're just talking about holding onto the 10 seed, who cares? Your season's basically over. But if I'm Atlanta, I'm using this as an opportunity to see what DeJounte Murray looks like as the leader of my offense and of my basketball team. Because we've already heard the rumors of, well, they couldn't really get what they wanted for DeJounte Murray. So would they pivot and actually trade Trae Young this summer? And I think this gives you at least a 4-week sample size of what is DeJounte Murray and Jalen Johnson and that kind of group and Onyeka Okongwu and some of these other guys that we have. What does that group look like? Is there a foundation there sans Trae Young to build on? I don't know that you can answer that in 4 weeks. It's still a little bit of a small sample size, but it's a sample size at least when you're kind of making these tough decisions that they might have to make this summer.
And Quinn Snyder, too, just getting to put DeJounte into the fulcrum of the offense instead of staggered minutes, whatever. I think that's at least a data download for Quinn Snyder, who I think we know has a lot of input on what is going on in that organization and what that team wants to do. I also am a little bit bummed, Wes, because at the very least, that would have been a team where you could talk yourself into them like having a really entertaining play-in run, not playoff run. They're getting smoked. Whoever's like the 8 seed's getting smoked by Boston. Like that's just going to happen. But if they were the 10 seed, I'm more interested in them in that play-in tournament from just like I want to enjoy the basketball I'm watching in April's point of view than I would be the Nets or the Raptors at this point. And maybe the Raptors with Scotty Barnes and the stuff he does and their team and all that do have like some kind of fun element to them. But Atlanta, just because of the upside, had, I think, just the most fun output. But now like you get below Orlando and I'm like, like,
They are good. They're a good play-in team, though. Atlanta is, right. Like they made it out of the play-in tournament as the 8th seed. They beat the 7 seed Heat in the first game of the play-in tournament last year. Got into the playoffs. I don't know. Even a 10 seed Hawks team with Trae Young coming back, I won't write them off from making it out of the play-in tournament, right? But you could argue right now that depending on how it shakes out, if Trae Young is healthy by the play-in tournament time, they could have the best player in the play-in tournament. And when you have that with the sort of the variance kind of aspect of the play-in tournament, who knows what can happen? But then, like you just said, what's left for you on the other side of the play-in tournament? You make it out, you get to the playoffs, and basically what happened to the Hawks last year, you get smoked in the first round, and that's sort of it. Maybe it's against Boston, maybe it's against whoever the 2 seed is, depending on whatever they get. But I don't know. I don't know that they're. I kind of felt like the Hawks season was over before the pinky injury to Trae Young.
Yeah.
And now it's just like doubly over.
Yeah, this feels like the official end when we've already kind of known where this was going.